Hey guys, what's up? Casey and Brian here to talk about Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. It's a Final Fantasy spin-off that came out for the GameCube back in 2004, and it's getting a remaster for both the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. And you may be asking yourself why you should care because it's not Final Fantasy VII, but Brian's here to tell you why you should care.
Wait a minute. No, okay, yes, you should. It's not Final Fantasy VII. Let's get that out of the way. That game is playable on like 7,000 different platforms.
Right.
They're remaking it eventually. I think in the year 2041 it'll be announced or released.
We'll get it before we die, maybe.
Right, but in the meantime, Crystal Chronicles is a really interesting, really unique, original sort of Final Fantasy spin-off game that was originally launched on the Nintendo GameCube. What made it so interesting and weird and sort of a pain in the butt was that to play it multiplayer, which is the proper way to play it correctly, you had to connect 4 Game Boy Advances, where each player had their own screen with stats and everything. Nintendo at the time was really weird. I mean, they've always been weird, continue to be weird.
I mean, they had those kind of setups with like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle with like the Tau and stuff like that. And they had a lot of games where you had to connect your Game Boy Advance, but
they were really pushing that.
To have 3 Game Boy Advances and 3 link cables to be able to play with 4 people?
It was very crazy. So Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is sort of like a top-down action RPG. It's got some mild Diablo elements, and the thing about it is that you pick a character class, and then your family kind of sends you off into the world, and you and your friends get to sort of team up against bad guys and giant bosses and fight through really cool dungeons and stuff like that. And by like sort of selecting this circular icon to place onto enemies and dragging all over the place, you can attack them or heal your friends. The cool thing is that working with like your partners in synchronicity to pair up like multiple versions of a fire attack or heal attack doubles or triples or quadruples it into like ultra attack. So it makes it really fun and kind of arcadey. The thing that people don't like about this game is that the entire game is covered in vicious poison. And the only way to stay safe is by carrying a chalice or a bucket everywhere. So no matter where you go, one of you has to carry a bucket. And that sucks for whoever is the person in your team carrying the bucket.
As Brian explained to me earlier, the best strategy for this is to get a younger sibling and make them do it.
Yes, exactly. Find somebody who you're kind of cool with or who is young and doesn't know better to help you out to be the bucket person, because nobody really wants to be the bucket person. But you should all take turns doing it.
Yeah, but besides the bucket thing, it sounds like a really fun game. I mean, I really love co-op Final Fantasy games. I played Final Fantasy Explorers, it came out for 3DS, and of course I'm a fan of Final Fantasy 14.
Yep.
So I am super excited to finally be able to play this properly because there is going to be online co-op on the Switch and the PS4.
Yeah, which is really interesting because the game actually requires a fair amount of communication, so hopefully there's some sort of, justifiable voice chat system running on Switch. On PS4, it's less of a problem. I'm more like interested to see how this could run in like local co-op, if that's a thing they're experimenting with. I'd like to check that out. I played this game in a very interesting way because I had a Game Boy Advance and my friend had one and my third friend had one, but my fourth friend did not. And so what we did was we hooked up a CRT TV next to another bigger TV, and we hooked up a GameCube to it with a Game Boy player on the bottom, which is a big system that played Game Boy Advance games. So effectively, we overcomplicated the already most complicated way to play a Final Fantasy game ever by adding a TV and a GameCube. So the fourth player actually had a TV that was this big that was basically just a Game Boy Advance screen.
I mean,
very stupid.
You do what you got to do, like what we have to do to get around the voice chat on Nintendo still.
That's right. So yeah, I'll have a lot of good ideas for how to work around that because I'm used to complicated wiry setups to play this weird old game.
However you make it work, but hopefully there is local co-op in Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered. You have any closing comments?
No, this is really one of my favorite Final Fantasy games of all time. The soundtrack's amazing, the art's really great, the story's really cool and different than other Final Fantasy games. It's just very weird, and that's what I love about it. And I'm glad that people are going to get another chance to check this game out. So keep an eye on it.
Thank you so much for watching. That's all we have to talk about today about Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. For everything else Final Fantasy, keep it right here on IGN.